The alarm clock rang at 6 in the morning, as usual. Diana Krause reached out and turned it off, trying not to wake her husband. Tom rolled over, muttering something in his sleep. 40 years as a mechanic at a local auto repair shop had taught him to sleep soundly. Nothing could wake him before 7. Diana quietly got out of bed and headed for the bathroom. In the mirror, a middle-aged woman with neatly trimmed brown hair and tired brown eyes looked back at her. No one in town would have doubted that Diana Krause was a model wife and a respectable Christian woman. She went to church every Sunday, participated in charity fairs, and never forgot to congratulate her neighbors on holidays. But the mirror couldn't show what was going on inside her. While taking a shower, Diana allowed herself a few minutes of honesty. Here, under the stream of hot water, she could admit what she had carefully hidden from everyone else. She thought about women, not about Tom, not about the children they never had, but about women, about their soft lips, the graceful curves of their bodies, what it would be like to touch them. Diana turned off the tap abruptly. The cold water washed away those thoughts, as it had done every morning for many years. By 7, she was fully dressed in her uniform, white pants, a blue blouse, and comfortable sneakers. Tom was already sitting in the kitchen with a cup of coffee, browsing the news on his phone. "Good morning, honey," he said without looking up. Tom was a good man, reliable, honest, hardworking. He loved Diana in his own way, and she knew it. The problem was that she couldn't love him back, not the way he deserved. "Morning," she replied, pouring herself some coffee. "I might be late today. There's a lot of work at the infirmary." That was half true. There was a lot of work to do, but the main reason Diana was staying late was that the prison hospital had become her refuge. There, she could just be a professional doctor, not play the role of the perfect wife. Tom nodded, not asking about her work as usual. "I'll be home by 6. Want to order pizza?" "Sure," Diana agreed, feeling a familiar emptiness. This was their family life, polite conversations about food and plans, no intimacy, no passion. Tom seemed happy with it. Diana felt like she was slowly suffocating. The drive to Millfield Correctional Facility took 20 minutes. The prison stood on the outskirts of town, surrounded by high concrete walls and barbed wire. It was a grim place, but to Diana it meant freedom, at least freedom from pretense. She was met at the gate by a familiar guard, Bill Hendricks. "Morning, Mrs. Krause. How are things at home?" "Everything's fine, thank you," she replied automatically as she passed through the metal detector. These daily rituals of politeness were part of her disguise. Everyone in town had to see that Diana had a perfect marriage. The medical wing was located in the central part of the prison. Only 4 people worked there: Chief Medical Officer Dr. Richard Stone, 2 nurses, Diana and Carol Mills, and paramedic James Turner. The small team served about 200 inmates in the women's block. Dr. Stone was already there, studying the medical records of the new arrivals. Richard Stone, a 50-year-old man with graying temples and attentive gray eyes, had been working in prison medicine for 15 years. He was one of the few people who treated prisoners as human beings, not numbers. "Good morning, Diana," he greeted her. "We have a new arrival today, Maria Sanchez, 28 years old. She arrived last night and is serving 3 years for burglary. She needs a standard medical examination." Diana nodded, taking the folder with the documents. Routine medical examinations were part of her job, checking general health, identifying possible problems, and prescribing necessary treatment. It usually took no more than half an hour per person. But when Maria Sanchez entered the medical office, Diana sensed that something had changed. Maria was a short woman with long, dark hair tied back in a ponytail and piercing green eyes. There was something feline about her, graceful movements, an alert posture, a gaze that seemed to see more than it should. She was wearing the standard prison uniform, an orange jumpsuit that seemed unable to hide her natural charm. "Have a seat," Diana said, pointing to a chair next to the medical table. She tried to keep her tone professional, but something about this woman made her nervous. Maria sat down and smiled, not broadly, but enough to reveal the wrinkles at the corners of her eyes. "Thank you. Are you Nurse Krause, nurse?" "Yes," Diana replied, opening the medical chart. "I need to ask you some standard questions about your health. Do you have any chronic illnesses?" "No." "Any allergies to medications?" "No." Diana continued asking the usual questions. but she could feel Maria's attentive gaze on her. Most new inmates were either frightened or aggressive. Maria, however, seemed completely calm, even curious. "How long have you been working here?" Maria asked unexpectedly. Diana looked up from her papers. "I'm supposed to be asking the questions." "I'm sorry," Maria smiled again. "I'm just curious. You don't look like a typical prison nurse." "What do I look like?" The question slipped out before Diana had time to think it through. "Like a woman who's playing a role," Maria replied calmly. Diana felt her heart skip a beat. What could this prisoner know about her? They had only met a few minutes ago. "Let's take your blood pressure," she said, trying to get back to the medical procedure. Maria obediently held out her arm. As Diana secured the cuff of the blood pressure monitor, their fingers accidentally touched. It was a fleeting touch, completely accidental, but Diana felt as if an electric shock had run through her skin. "Your blood pressure is normal," she muttered, quickly withdrawing her hands. "I know," Maria said. "I'm in good health, and I have good intuition about people." Diana didn't respond, concentrating on filling out the medical form, but she could sense that Maria was still studying her. "Are you married?" Maria asked again. "That's not relevant to the medical examination." "Your wedding ring is," Maria remarked. "It's beautiful. Have you been married long?" 10 years, Diana replied mechanically, then realized she shouldn't have answered. "Do you have children?" "No." The words sounded harsher than Diana intended. Maria tilted her head like a cat studying an interesting toy. "I see. Did you want children?" Diana abruptly closed the medical chart. "The examination is over. You may go." "Of course." Maria stood up, but did not hurry to leave. "Thank you for your professionalism, Nurse Krause. I hope we'll see each other again." Something in the way she said those words made Diana feel both alarmed and strangely excited. After Maria left, Diana sat in the silence of the medical office for several minutes. She didn't understand what had happened, but she felt that something fundamental had changed. This prisoner had seen something in her that Diana had carefully hidden even from herself. The rest of the day passed in a fog. Diana performed her duties automatically, but her thoughts kept returning to Maria Sanchez's green eyes and mysterious smile. In the evening, sitting at dinner with Tom, who was talking about problems with the engine in one of the cars, Diana realized that she was only half listening to him. The other half of her mind was occupied with memories of that fleeting touch in the medical office. For the first time in many years, Diana Krause felt that someone really saw her. It was both frightening and exciting. Diana didn't see Maria Sanchez for the next 3 days. New prisoners usually went through a period of adjustment in their cells, getting to know the prison routine and their cellmates. They only needed medical attention in emergencies. But Diana found herself listening to the guards' conversations, hoping to hear Maria's name. She studied the lists of prisoners who were scheduled for routine checkups, checking to see if Sanchez was on them. It was illogical and professionally unethical. A nurse should not take a special interest in specific prisoners. On Thursday morning, while sorting through medical records, Diana heard a familiar voice in the hallway. "Excuse me, Officer Johnson. May I speak to the nurse? I've been having strange headaches since I got here." Vera Johnson, head of security for the women's block, was a woman who did not tolerate complaints without good reason, but something in Maria's voice made her stop. "What kind of pain?" she asked sternly. "Pulsating, especially in my temples. Maybe it's from stress or a change in diet. I don't want to make the situation worse." Diana got up from the table and walked out into the hallway. Maria stood next to Officer Johnson, looking pale and slightly confused. When their eyes met, a faint smile flashed across the prisoner's face. "I can take a look at her," Diana said. "Headaches can indeed be a serious problem." Vera nodded. "Okay, 15 minutes." When the door to the medical office closed, Maria immediately straightened up. The paleness disappeared, and she looked perfectly healthy again. "Headaches?" Diana asked skeptically. "They went away as soon as I saw you," Maria replied with a smile. "It's amazing how quickly the right treatment works." Diana felt the color rise to her cheeks. "That's not professional. You can't pretend to be sick to get in here." "And you can't pretend you didn't want to see me," Maria replied calmly. sitting down in the medical chair. Am I right? Diana opened her mouth to protest, but the words stuck in her throat, because Maria was right. How long have you been married? Maria continued, seemingly oblivious to the nurse's embarrassment. I already told you, 10 years. That's not what I asked. I asked how long you've been pretending. Diana froze. I don't understand what you mean. You do. Maria leaned forward, studying her face. You have that look. I recognize it. The look of someone who lives in a cage, only your cage isn't made of metal. It's made of other people's expectations. You're wrong. And you know what? It's okay. Many people live in cages like that. The difference is that most of them don't even realize it. But you do. That's why you get so tense when someone looks at you for real. Diana felt her hands tremble. I need to check your blood pressure. Sure, Maria held out her arm. This time, as she fastened the cuff, Diana tried to avoid touching her. But Maria turned her wrist so that their fingers touched again. And again, Diana felt that strange electric shock. Relax, Maria said quietly. I'm not going to tell anyone your secrets. I don't have any secrets. Everyone has secrets, especially people who try too hard to look perfect. Diana turned on the blood pressure monitor, but it was hard to concentrate on the readings. Maria's hand was soft and warm, just as a woman's hand should be. Have you ever wondered how your life would have turned out if you had been honest with yourself? Maria asked. I don't know what you're talking about. About how you feel right now. About why your heart beats faster when we touch each other. About why you've been thinking about me for the last 3 days. Diana pulled her hand away abruptly. This is inappropriate. What's inappropriate? The truth? Your blood pressure is normal, Diana said, writing down the readings. You can go. But Maria didn't move. You know what's the saddest thing about people like you? You're so afraid of disappointing others that you're willing to disappoint yourselves every day. I'm not disappointed in my life. No? Maria stood up and moved closer. There was less than a meter between them. Then tell me, when was the last time you felt truly alive? Diana couldn't answer, because she couldn't remember. When was the last time your heart beat with anticipation rather than fear? When was the last time you wanted someone so much that it hurt? Stop, Diana whispered. Why? Because I'm saying what you don't dare admit even to yourself? At that moment, the door opened and Dr. Stone entered. Maria instantly stepped back, and Diana quickly turned away toward the table. How are you? The doctor asked, looking from one woman to the other. Everything's fine, Diana replied quickly. Just a headache from adjusting. Dr. Stone nodded, but his attentive gray eyes lingered on Diana. Miss Sanchez, you may go. If the headaches recur, contact security. After Maria left, silence hung in the office. Dr. Stone studied the medical records, but Diana felt him watching her out of the corner of her eye. Diana, he finally said, are you feeling all right? You look troubled. I'm fine, just tired. Maybe you should take the day off. You haven't had a vacation in a while. No, I'm fine, really. Dr. Stone didn't look convinced, but he didn't press the issue. On Friday, Maria came back to the infirmary. This time she complained of back pain after sleeping on the prison bed. On Monday she had a binge of nausea. On Tuesday she felt dizzy. Each time, Diana knew the symptoms were made up, and each time she allowed herself to be fooled. Their conversations became more and more personal. Maria talked about her life before prison, about working in a bar, about how she learned to read people, about her relationships. She was surprisingly open for someone who had to hide her true motives. I've always known who I am, she said during one of her visits. I like both men and women. That's never been a problem for me. Society was the problem. Diana envied her confidence. Does your family know? My mother died when I was 16. I never knew my father, so there was no one to be disappointed in me. It must be lonely. Loneliness is better than lies. Maria looked at her intently, although sometimes lies seem safer. Diana understood what she was talking about. Her own family was the complete opposite of Maria's. Her parents, 2 brothers, numerous aunts and uncles, all deeply religious conservatives. They were proud that Diana had married a good Christian man, and was leading a righteous life. What would they say if they knew the truth? "What about your husband?" Maria asked. "Is he a good man?" "Yes," Diana replied honestly. "Tom is a good man. He doesn't deserve what? A wife who can't love him." The words slipped out before Diana could stop them. She had never said it out loud, not even to herself. Maria touched her hand gently. "It's not your fault." "Of course it is. I married him knowing that you're a lesbian?" Diana flinched at the directness of the word. "I'm not." "Say it," Maria asked quietly. "Just once. Honestly." Diana looked into the green eyes full of understanding and felt the walls she had built over the years crumble. "I'm a lesbian," she whispered. It was the first time she had ever said those words out loud, and instead of the horror she had expected, she felt a strange sense of relief. Maria smiled, not triumphantly, but tenderly. "How does it feel?" "Scary," Diana replied honestly, "and liberating. The fear will pass, the freedom will remain." That day, Diana came home with a light heart for the first time in many years. At dinner, she even smiled at Tom when he told a joke about one of his clients. "You look better today," he remarked. "Did something good happen at work?" "Just a good day," she replied. But when they went to bed and Tom tried to hug her, Diana felt the familiar tension again. Now that she had spoken the truth out loud, the pretense was even harder to maintain. The next day, Dr. Stone held her after her shift. "Diana, I need to talk to you." Her heart leapt. "About what?" "About your frequent visits with Miss Sanchez. She often complains of feeling unwell. I'm just doing my job." I checked her medical records. She's been in 8 times in the last 2 weeks. That's unusual for a healthy young woman. Diana tried to remain calm. Adjusting to prison can be stressful. "Of course, but I've also noticed a change in your behavior. You seem distracted, distressed. Those are personal issues. They don't affect my work." Dr. Stone looked at her intently. "Diana, I've been working in prison medicine for 15 years. I've seen good people get into difficult situations. If you need help or just someone to talk to..." "Thank you, doctor, but I'm fine." He didn't look convinced, but nodded. "All right, but remember, it's important to maintain professional distance in this place, for your own safety." On her way home, Diana thought about Dr. Stone's words. He was right. She was losing her professional distance. But for the first time in her life, she felt understood, accepted for who she was. Wasn't that worth a certain amount of risk? Tom was waiting for her at home with a bouquet of flowers. "What's the occasion?" she asked in surprise. "Nothing. I just wanted to do something nice for my beloved wife." Looking at his sincere smile, Diana felt her heart tighten. Tom really loved her, and she betrayed that love every day, not only by not reciprocating, but also by hiding the truth. But when she tried to imagine telling him about her orientation, her imagination refused to work. Tom was a product of the same conservative community as she was. He wouldn't understand. He wouldn't accept it. That night, Diana lay awake for a long time, listening to her husband's steady breathing. A month had passed since Maria had been sent to prison, and their meetings had become a daily ritual. Maria had learned to time it so that Dr. Stone was busy in another part of the medical wing, and the other staff were doing their rounds. Those stolen half hours became the most important part of Diana's day. On Tuesday morning, Maria came in complaining of an allergic reaction to the prison soap. Diana was examining her hands when she suddenly felt Maria's fingers intertwine with her own. "What are you doing?" Diana whispered, but did not pull her hand away. "What we both want," Maria replied quietly. Diana looked into the green eyes and saw the warmth she so desperately missed at home. Slowly, as if in a dream, she bowed her head. Their lips almost touched when the door swung open. James Turner, the paramedic, entered with a folder of lab results. Diana recoiled sharply, while Maria calmly studied her palms. "Sorry to interrupt," James said, but his gaze was wary. "Miss Sanchez, how's your allergy?" "It's passing," Maria replied calmly. "Nurse Krause is very attentive." After Maria left, James lingered in the office. "Diana, are you all right? You look upset." "Everything's fine," she lied, trying to stop her hands from shaking. But James didn't believe her. An hour later, he knocked on Dr. Stone's office door. Maria didn't show up on Wednesday. Diana waited all day, listening for sounds in the hallway, but the prisoner never appeared. By evening, Diana realized she couldn't stand the uncertainty any longer. She found Vera Johnson in the security booth of the women's block. "Officer Johnson, how's inmate Sanchez doing? She complained of allergies yesterday, and I wanted to make sure everything was okay." Vera looked up from her paperwork. "Sanchez? She's in solitary." Diana's heart sank. "For what?" "A fight in the cafeteria. 3 days in solitary." Vera looked closely at the nurse. "Is there a medical reason for early release?" "No, I just wanted to make sure." On Thursday morning, Dr. Stone called Diana into his office. "Sit down," he said seriously. "We need to talk about Miss Sanchez." Diana felt her mouth go dry. "What's wrong with her?" "James has expressed concern about your interactions with this inmate. He believes you are becoming too emotionally involved." "That's not true. I'm doing my job." "Diana," Dr. Stone leaned forward, "I've known you for 5 years. You're an excellent nurse and a decent person. But right now I see something in your eyes that worries me. I don't understand. Inmates are skilled manipulators, especially the intelligent and charismatic ones like Sanchez. They find weaknesses in the staff and exploit them." Diana sat up straight. "Maria isn't like that." The words slipped out before she could stop them. Dr. Stone raised his eyebrows. "Maria? You're calling an inmate by her first name?" Diana realized her mistake. "I misspoke." "No, you didn't. Diana, I have to remove you from working with this inmate." "But why?" "I haven't done anything wrong." "Not yet, but I can't take any chances. From now on, Carol will be in charge of all medical matters concerning Sanchez." Diana left the doctor's office in despair. 3 days without Maria seemed like an eternity, and now they could be separated forever. On Friday evening, as Diana was filing medical records, Maria entered the office. She looked pale after 3 days in solitary confinement, but she smiled when she saw the nurse. "How are things without me?" she asked. "Maria, how are you here? Dr. Stone said that Carol is now my medical staff." "Yes, I know. But Carol has a migraine today and asked you to fill in for her." Diana frowned. "Carol never gets migraines." "It started today." Maria smiled mysteriously. "What a strange coincidence." "What did you do?" "I just talked to her. I explained that I understand the seriousness of my stomach problems and would like to see the most experienced nurse in the department." Diana felt both admiration and alarm at Maria's ability to manipulate the situation. "You can't do that." "Why not? I just want to see you." Maria moved closer. There was something new in her eyes, more intense, more demanding. "I missed you," she whispered. 3 days alone made me realize something important." "What?" "That I'm falling in love with you." The words hit Diana like a bolt of lightning. "Maria, I know it's crazy. I know you're married, that we have no future. But I can't stop these feelings." Diana felt the last wall of resistance crumble. "I can't either." This time, no one interrupted them. Maria gently touched her cheek and Diana closed her eyes, leaning toward the touch. When their lips met, the world around them disappeared. The kiss was tender, exploratory, full of the passion that had built up over the weeks. Diana had never kissed a woman before, but every movement felt natural, right. They broke the kiss, breathing heavily. "God," Diana whispered, "what are we doing?" "What should have happened from the beginning?" Maria replied, kissing her neck. Diana ran her fingers through Maria's dark hair, enjoying its silkiness. She felt alive for the first time in years. The sound of footsteps in the hallway made them jump apart. Maria quickly sat down on a medical chair, and Diana grabbed the first medical chart she could find. Vera Johnson entered. "Sanchez, time to get back to the block." "Yes, officer." Maria stood up and headed for the door. Passing Diana, she whispered softly, "See you tomorrow." Over the weekend, Diana paced around the house like a caged animal. Tom noticed her restlessness. "Honey, what's wrong? You seem on edge." "Just tired. It's been a difficult week." "Maybe we should visit your parents? It's been a while." The thought of seeing her family in her current state made Diana panic. "Not now. Please. Tom looked hurt, but didn't insist. On Sunday, they went to church as usual. Diana sat next to her husband, listening to the sermon about the importance of marriage and family values, and felt like an imposter. Every word the pastor said about the sinfulness of unnatural relationships cut her to the heart. On Monday, Maria showed up at the infirmary again, this time complaining of sleep problems. Carol was on vacation, and the nurse filling in for her was too busy to deal with trifles. "I thought about you all weekend," Maria said as soon as they were alone. "And I thought about you," Diana confessed. They kissed more passionately, Maria's hands exploring Diana's body over her uniform. Diana felt the desire she had suppressed for years awakening. "I want you," Maria whispered in her ear. Diana trembled with desire, but common sense had not yet completely left her. "We can't do this here. It's too dangerous." "Then where?" This question had tormented Diana all week. Where could they meet? The prison was full of cells and guards. Home was out of the question. Tom was there. Public places weren't suitable either in a small town where everyone knew everyone. On Wednesday, Maria suggested a solution. "There's a utility room in the old laundry. It's not used and the lock is broken. I can get in there during cleaning." "That's crazy." "Yes, and it's the only way we can be together." On Thursday evening, when most of the staff had already left, Diana sneaked into the abandoned utility room. Maria was already waiting for her. What happened next changed Diana's life forever. For the first time, she experienced true intimacy with a woman and felt what it was like to be desired for who she was. Lying in Maria's arms on old sheets she had found somewhere, Diana finally felt at home. "Now you're mine," Maria whispered, kissing her shoulder. "Yes," Diana agreed, without thinking about the consequences. But the consequences were not long in coming. Within a week, their secret meetings became regular. Maria became more and more demanding. She wanted more time, more attention, more risk. "Bring me a phone," she asked one day. "What? No, that's impossible." "Why? You love me, don't you?" "I do, but..." "Then prove it." "I need a phone to contact a lawyer. I have a chance to appeal the sentence." Diana hesitated, but Maria's gaze was so pleading. The next day, she smuggled Tom's old phone into the prison. Maria was delighted. "You're beautiful," she said, covering Diana's face with kisses. "Now I can talk to the outside world." But instead of talking to a lawyer, Maria used the phone for other purposes. Diana found her texting someone unknown, and when she asked, Maria replied evasively, "Just a friend, helping with legal stuff." Gradually, Diana began to notice changes in Maria's behavior. She became colder, more calculating. Their meetings turned into transactions, intimacy in exchange for small favors. Sometimes it was medicine for her sick friend, other times information about the security guard's work schedule. The climax came when Maria demanded the keys to the medical unit. "Why do you need the keys?" "I want to visit you at night when no one is around." "That's too dangerous." Maria's face hardened. "Diana, you're forgetting something important. I have photos." "What photos?" Maria took out her hidden phone and showed her the screen. There were intimate photos of Diana taken during their meetings in the utility room. "Beautiful shots, aren't they? I wonder what your husband will say when he sees them. And your family, and the prison administration." Diana felt the world crumbling around her. "Maria, why did you do this?" "For our protection. Now we're bound together forever. You can't leave me and I can't hurt you. It's the perfect balance. This is blackmail. This is love. Sometimes love requires guarantees." Diana realized she had fallen into a trap. The woman who had seemed to be her salvation had become her jailer. That night at home, she stared at Tom sleeping for a long time. He looked so peaceful, so trusting. If he found out the truth, it would destroy him. And if her family found out, Diana locked herself in the bathroom and cried silently. She had tried to free herself from one cage, but ended up in another, even smaller and more dangerous. Meanwhile, Maria was planning her next move. A week had passed since Maria's ultimatum. Diana gave her a duplicate set of keys to the medical unit, lying to Dr. Stone that she had lost her own set. Every night she lay awake, waiting for Maria to use the access for some crazy scheme. On Monday morning, Maria appeared in the medical unit with a new demand. I need sleeping pills. Lots of sleeping pills. Why? Diana asked, though she already knew. I have a plan. We can escape, but we need to knock out the night guards. Diana felt a chill run down her spine. You're crazy. That's murder. It's freedom. Our freedom. Maria took her hands. We can be together. For real. Think about it. No secrets, no pretending. What if someone dies from an overdose? They won't if you calculate the right dose. You're a nurse. Diana pulled her hands away. I'm not going to be an accomplice to murder. Maria's face turned cold. Then you'll be an accomplice to another crime. Your own. What's worse? A few sleeping pills or these photos in your husband's hands? Maria took out her phone and began scrolling through the photos. Intimate moments of their closeness appeared on the screen, captured without Diana's knowledge. I especially like this one, Maria said, showing a photo of Diana lying naked in her arms. Very expressive. Your family will appreciate the artistry. Please, Diana whispered. Don't do this. Don't make me. Just give me the pills. That day, Diana seriously considered suicide for the first time. She stood in the infirmary pharmacy, holding a vial of insulin, imagining how easy it would be to inject herself with a lethal dose. One shot and it would all be over. But then she thought of Tom, who would find her body, about her parents, who would blame themselves, about Maria getting what she wanted, complete control, even over her death. On Tuesday, Maria came back for more sleeping pills. Time is running out. I have connections on the outside who can help, but the plan must be carried out this weekend. What if I refuse? Then on Monday morning, your husband will receive a very interesting package. Plus, copies will be sent to the church, your parents, and the prison administration. Diana realized she was cornered. Whatever choice she made, someone would suffer. Either the guards would get the sleeping pills, or she would be exposed. On Wednesday, she made her decision. All right, she said to Maria, I'll get the pills, but this is the last thing I'll ever do for you. Maria smiled triumphantly. Of course, dear. After we escape, we won't need these games anymore. On Thursday morning, Dr. Stone called Diana into his office. We have a problem, he said seriously. Medications are missing from the pharmacy, sleeping pills and several other drugs. Diana's heart leaped. Maybe it's a mistake in the records? I checked twice. Someone took them without recording it in the log. He looked at her intently. Diana, you don't know anything about this? No, she lied. Nothing. I have to notify the administration. There will be an internal investigation. After that conversation, Diana realized that she had almost no time left. The investigation would reveal her involvement in the theft, and that meant her connection to Maria. On Friday, Maria was particularly pleased with herself. Everything is ready. Tomorrow night I'll be free, and the day after tomorrow we'll meet in another state. I'm not going anywhere with you. You will, because you have no other choice. Here you are now a criminal. With me, you will simply be a woman who has finally found happiness. Diana looked at Maria and saw not her lover, but a predator who had trapped her and was slowly devouring her. It was not love, it was enslavement. That night, she made her final decision. On Saturday morning, Diana arrived at work earlier than usual. Dr. Stone was on vacation, and Carol had been called to an emergency in the men's ward. There was almost no one in the medical wing. Maria showed up around 10, pretending to be sick as usual. This is the last time we'll meet here, she said as she entered the office. Tomorrow I'll be free. Yes, Diana agreed quietly. Tomorrow everything will change. She asked Maria to sit down on the medical table for a final examination. Maria leaned back, closing her eyes. Soon we'll be together for real, she said dreamily. Just think, no restrictions, no secrets. Diana silently prepared the syringe. It didn't contain the usual dose of vitamins she usually gave the prisoners. It was insulin, a lot of insulin. What's that? Maria asked, noticing the syringe. Vitamins, to keep you strong for the escape. Maria trustingly held out her arm. You're so caring. Diana found a vein and slowly injected the contents of the syringe. Maria didn't even flinch. When will you realize that you truly love me? She asked. I already do, Diana replied, putting away the syringe. The first signs appeared 10 minutes later. Maria began to complain of dizziness. "That's strange," she muttered. "I don't feel very well." "Lie down," Diana said. "It'll pass." 15 minutes later, Maria began to lose consciousness. Her skin was covered in cold sweat and her breathing became shallow. "Diana," she whispered. "What's happening?" "You're getting what you deserve," Diana replied calmly. Understanding flashed in Maria's green eyes. "You're killing me. I'm setting us both free." Maria tried to stand up, but her body wouldn't obey her. The insulin shock progressed rapidly. "Please," she whispered, gasping for air. "I didn't want to hurt you. I really loved you." "Don't lie even now," Diana said. "You didn't love anyone. You only used them." Maria lost consciousness 25 minutes later. Diana checked her pulse. Her heart was still beating, but weakly and irregularly. 40 minutes later, it was over. Diana sat next to the body, feeling a strange emptiness. She expected remorse, horror, anything, but all she felt was relief. At 11:30, she discovered the body. "Help!" she screamed into the hallway. "Medical assistance!" Security guards and paramedic James rushed in. Diana pretended to be panicked and in shock. "She came in for a routine checkup," she sobbed. "She complained of feeling unwell. I ran some tests, and when I came back, she wasn't breathing." James tried to resuscitate Maria, but it was too late. "Time of death, 11:45, he announced officially. Dr. Stone arrived, despite it being his day off. Then Sheriff Thornton and his deputy arrived. "What could have caused this?" the sheriff asked the doctor. "We'll have to wait for the autopsy results, but preliminary findings suggest a heart attack or an allergic reaction." Diana was questioned as a witness. She told her version of events calmly and convincingly. Maria came in complaining of feeling unwell. Diana performed a standard examination and found nothing unusual. The prisoner was waiting for the test results when she suddenly lost consciousness. "Did you notice anything strange about her behavior?" the sheriff asked. She seemed nervous. She was talking about her plans for the future after her release. That was true. Only her plans were different. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the formalities were over. Diana was given permission to go home. The road home seemed endless. Diana drove slowly, thinking about what had happened. She had killed a man, cold-bloodedly and deliberately, and she felt not remorse, but freedom. She threw Maria's phone into the lake before the police arrived. The compromising photos disappeared with it. Tom met her at home with a worried look on his face. "Honey, I heard the news. Did someone die in prison?" "Yes." Diana hugged her husband, feeling his warmth and reliability. "A young prisoner, a heart attack. How awful. Were you there?" "I found her. It was shocking." Tom held his wife closer. "My poor darling, this shouldn't happen at your work." There was genuine concern in his voice. Diana realized she had almost forgotten what it was like to be cared for without ulterior motives. "I made your favorite soup," Tom said, "and I rented a comedy. I thought you needed a distraction." Over dinner, Diana looked at her husband and saw him as if for the first time in years. Tom was a good man. He didn't deserve a wife who killed people, but he also didn't deserve a wife who lied to him every day about her true nature. "Tom," she said suddenly, "have you ever thought that we might be happier apart?" He choked on his soup. "What? Where did that come from?" "It's just that sometimes people change. They become different." "Diana, you're scared because of what happened today. That's normal. But we're a wonderful couple. We have a good marriage." Diana nodded, not arguing. Maybe someday she would find the courage to tell him the truth. But not today. Today she just wanted to feel like a normal wife of a normal man in a normal family. That evening they watched a comedy, and Diana even laughed a few times. Tom was glad she was feeling better. As she went to bed, Diana thought about how tomorrow would be the start of a new life. Maria was dead. The blackmail was over. The secrets were buried with her. But when she closed her eyes, she saw Maria's green eyes, full of understanding and pain. "I really loved you," the prisoner's last words echoed in her mind. Perhaps it was true. Perhaps Maria really did love her in her own way. But love that requires the destruction of other people does not deserve to exist. Diana fell asleep peacefully for the first time in many weeks. The investigation would begin in the morning, but she was ready for anything. On Monday morning, Sheriff Jack Thornton sat in his office studying the preliminary report on Maria Sanchez's death. 42 years old and the father of a teenager, he was used to the usual crimes of a small town: theft, bar fights, the occasional drug offense. Death in jail was rare, especially the sudden death of a healthy 28-year-old woman. His thoughts were interrupted by his cell phone ringing. It was the county medical examiner, Dr. Martin Grace. "Jack, the autopsy results are in, and they're interesting." Thornton put the phone on speaker and grabbed his notebook. "Cause of death? Hypoglycemic coma caused by a massive insulin overdose. Blood sugar level was practically zero. Insulin? Did Sanchez have diabetes? His pancreas was perfectly healthy. The insulin came from an outside source. I'm sending the report to your email." Thornton opened his laptop and received the files. "So, murder? Or suicide, but that's highly unlikely. The prisoner had no access to insulin. Plus, the method is too medical for suicide." Who had access to insulin in the prison? Medical staff, Dr. Stone, nurses, paramedics. Thornton created a new note on his phone with a list of suspects. What else did the autopsy reveal? Traces of an injection on her left arm, a professionally administered shot into a vein, and another oddity: traces of a sleeping pill were found in her stomach. A sleeping pill? A small amount? Not enough to cause poisoning, but enough to cause drowsiness. Thornton made a note on his phone. The picture was becoming clearer and more disturbing. In the afternoon, he arrived at the prison for further questioning. First up was Nurse Diana Krause, the woman who had discovered the body. "Mrs. Krause, I'd like to go over the details of that day again," he said, turning on the voice recording app on his phone. Diana sat across from the sheriff, appearing calm, but Thornton noticed how she was clenching her hands to hide her trembling. "Of course. I've already told you everything. Tell me again, from the beginning." "Maria, the inmate Sanchez, arrived around 10 in the morning. She complained of feeling unwell. I performed a standard examination." "What did the examination include?" "I took her blood pressure and temperature and examined her throat. I took a blood sample for analysis." "Did you give her any injections?" Diana hesitated for a second, long enough for Thornton to notice. "Vitamins, a standard dose of vitamin B12. There's no record of vitamin injections in the electronic medical record. I forgot to enter it into the system. It was just a minor thing." Thornton typed a note into his phone. "How long was the inmate with you?" "About 40 minutes. I left to take the tests to the lab, and when I came back, she was unconscious." "How long were you gone?" "About 10 minutes. "Mrs. Krause, the lab says you didn't come in that day. I checked the electronic records of access to the premises." Diana turned pale. "Maybe I made a mistake. It's hard to remember exactly when you're stressed." "Then where were you for those 10 minutes?" "In the bathroom. I had a bout of nausea. I was probably nervous because Maria looked so ill." Thornton nodded, making notes on his phone. Each answer raised new questions. After questioning Diana, he called Dr. Stone via video link. "Richard, how well do you know Nurse Krause?" "Diana has been working for us for 5 years. She's an excellent nurse, very responsible. Although, what? In recent weeks, I've noticed a change in her behavior. She's become distracted, nervous, and she was overly interested in inmate Sanchez." "In what way?" "Sanchez was in the infirmary very often, almost every day, always with Diana. I even tried to transfer her to another nurse, but Diana insisted she could handle it." Thornton jotted down the information. "What can you tell me about the missing medication?" "I discovered the shortage on Thursday when I checked the electronic database. Sleeping pills, painkillers. I was about to launch an internal investigation." "Who had access to the pharmacy?" "All medical staff. Everyone has electronic passes and all actions are recorded in the system." On Tuesday, Thornton questioned paramedic James Turner via video link as he was on sick leave. "I saw some strange interaction between Nurse Krause and inmate Sanchez," James said. "They were too close, not professional." "What do you mean?" "Once I walked into the office and saw them very close to each other." Diana looked embarrassed, and Sanchez was smiling like a cat that had eaten a canary. "Did you report this to anyone?" "I sent a message to Dr. Stone. He replied that he would look into it." On Wednesday, Thornton received an email with additional information from the lab. Analysis of the contents of the syringe found in the medical office showed traces of insulin. It was the same syringe used to kill Maria. Thornton also received data from surveillance cameras and electronic access cards. The cameras covered the hallways, but not the medical offices. However, they showed that on the day of Maria's death, Diana was the only medical staff member in the unit at the critical time. On Thursday morning, he called Diana in for questioning again. "Mrs. Krause, I want to ask you a direct question. What was your relationship with inmate Sanchez?" "Professional. She was a patient." "Only professional?" "Yes." "Then how do you explain this?" Thornton showed her a photo on his tablet taken by a surveillance camera. It showed Diana and Maria standing very close to each other in the hallway, their poses suggesting intimacy. Diana studied the image. She was complaining of dizziness. I was supporting her. "Mrs. Krause, we have statements from 3 employees that your relationship with Sanchez went beyond the professional. That's not true. We have lab results from the syringe you used on the day of her death. It contained traces of insulin in a dose that would be lethal to a healthy person." Diana was silent. "We have electronic records showing that you were the only medical staff member in the unit at the time of death. We have a missing medication report on file." Thornton leaned forward. "Diana, I think you're in a difficult situation. Perhaps this woman coerced you in some way, blackmailed you. If that's the case, tell us the truth. It's a mitigating factor." Diana looked at the sheriff. She saw understanding in his eyes, not condemnation. For the first time in many days, she felt she could tell the truth. "She blackmailed me," Diana said quietly. "With what?" "She had compromising photos on her phone. She threatened to send them to my husband, my family." "What kind of photos?" Diana covered her face with her hands. "Intimate ones. We had a relationship." "How long?" "About a month. At first, I thought it was love, but then she started demanding more and more. Medication, information, keys, and in the end, she demanded help with her escape." "And you decided to kill her?" "I was backed into a corner. If I helped her escape, the guards would have been hurt. If I refused, she would have ruined my life. I didn't see any other way out." Thornton nodded. "Diana Krause, you are under arrest on suspicion of the murder of Maria Sanchez." When the handcuffs clicked around Diana's wrists, she felt a strange sense of relief. Years of pretending, weeks of blackmail, days of lies. It was all over. "Can I call my husband?" she asked. "Of course." The conversation with Tom was the hardest of her life. "Diana, why are you calling from an unfamiliar number?" "Tom, I have something to tell you. About myself. About who I really am." And for the first time in her life, Diana Krause told the whole truth. A month later, she appeared in court. The lawyer insisted on mitigating circumstances: psychological coercion, blackmail, no criminal record. The prosecutor demanded the maximum penalty for cold-blooded murder. Tom came to the hearing. He looked older, broken, but when their eyes met, there was no hatred in his eyes, only sadness. The court sentenced Diana to 15 years in prison. In her prison cell, she thought about the strange irony of fate. Maria wanted to get out of prison and take Diana with her. In the end, that's what happened. Only the roles were reversed. But for the first time in many years, Diana wasn't pretending. She wasn't playing the role of the perfect wife or model nurse. She was just herself, a woman who had made a terrible mistake but had finally stopped lying. It was a strange, sad form of freedom. But it was freedom. A year later, she received a message from Tom on the prison's electronic system. "Forgive me, not for what you killed. I'm sorry I couldn't create a home where you could be yourself. You deserved a husband who would accept you for who you are." Diana stared at the tablet screen for a long time. Tom had filed for divorce a month after the trial, but this message showed that he might have understood more than she thought. She typed a reply: "Thank you for being a good man. I hope you find someone who can love you the right way." Perhaps this was a unique form of love, accepting the truth, no matter how painful, and being able to let each other go.